The Mishnah?
We are up to the Mishnah on page Hey Amud Bet 5b2. Okay? And the Mishnah says as follows. En ha'edim zomin ne'eragin. Witnesses that are edim zomin, they don't get the punishment of being killed, obviously in a case where they were trying to kill someone, ad sheyigamer hadin, until the gavel comes down. Says the Gemara, okay, why are you telling me this, right? When else would you have imagined it? And obviously we'll see that there are other cases that it could have been. She'areh ha-tzedukin omrim, to be clear, tzedukin over here does not mean righteous people. This is a group of people that followed someone whose name was Tzadok. Tzadok, we have two people called Tzadok and Baitus. These are two people who were the students of Antigonus Ish Socho. Okay? And in that time...
Are these the Sadducees?
Exactly. So the Tzedukim are the Sadducees, and the Baitusim are the Baithusis. Okay? So you have these two groups of people who are literalists in the Torah, and they disagreed with the Chachamim on lots of things. Okay? Just so you know, the Dead Sea Scrolls are actually not from our tradition. The Dead Sea Scrolls come from the Tzedukim. Okay? And that's why not all of it follows our halakha. It's different to what we have, because that was this branch of Judaism that took a left turn. Let's just as an example. It says in the Torah, Lo tevaru esh b'chol moshvotechem. You can't light a fire in any of your homes. The Tzedukim therefore learned that you can't have hot food on Shabbat, because there cannot be a fire in your house. Now you can't light a fire in your house. The Tzedukim would wear their tefillin, not over here, but over here. You know why? Because the pasuk says, and it will be leot ben enecha, between your eyes. They read it literally. The Chachamim explained it means between your eyes, but not this way, but this way. Okay? So these were examples of the differences between the Chachamim and the Tzedukim and the Baitusim. They were literalists who only accepted the Torah shebichtav and not the Torah sheba'al peh. Okay? The Chachamim had tremendous troubles with them throughout the second Bet HaMikdash. They were constantly trying to make inroads in basically converting Jews to this side religion that looked a little bit like Judaism. And in many cases, the infiltration went to very high places. It tells us, as an example, that Yochanan Kohen Gadol, 80 years he went into the Kodesh HaKodashim without being turned aside or dying there because he was doing the wrong thing. What is the wrong thing? There's a machloket between the Chachamim and the Tzedukim about the order in which you put the coals and the spices. And they had to make every Kohen Gadol swear before he went in on Erev Yom Kippur. They would tell him, swear to us that you're going to follow the halakha of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. And he would swear. And the Mishnah says, in the beginning of Yuma, he would separate and cry, and they would separate and cry. He would cry because they suspected him of being a Sedusi, and they would cry because maybe they were Choshed B'Ksherim right before, maybe they suspected someone who was kosher right before Yom Kippur, okay? So the problems with the Tzedukim were widespread. Now, says the Mishnah, what did the Tzedukim teach?
Why
And this is...
what they would teach.
Oh, excellent question. Because there was a point in time where the Sanhedrin itself was infiltrated by the Tzedukim. Now you're going to wonder, how could it be the Sanhedrin was infiltrated by the Tzedukim? The answer is because there was a point in time under the king Yanai where he went in on a murdering spree and he killed every single Torah sage that he could. Wow. One of the Torah sages that was saved was Shimon ben Shetach, and the reason why he was saved was because he was the brother of the queen. And she tipped him off and she protected him. Okay? What was his sister's name? Shlom Tziona Malka. By the way, if you go to Jerusalem now, you have Yanai Street, and it branches off from Shlom Tziona Malka Street. Okay? Now Yanai was a bloodthirsty king who did terrible things. But sometimes the people who named these streets didn't quite know what was going on because they weren't such experts in Torah. Either way, point is, so that's why we're teaching you the halakha, because they were judges that were from this sect, And the reason why they were judges was because in a corrupt kingdom, at that point, people would pay to become appointed members of the Sanhedrin. They would pay for the honor of the Kohen Gadol, even though that Yom Kippur, they would go into the Kodesh Kodashim and die because they were doing it incorrectly. But the people were so obsessed with shoving this down everybody's throats, and as well with the honor associated with being the Kohen Gadol, they would pay for it. Okay, says the Gemara. So, the Tzedukim, Sharei Tzedukim Omrim Ad Sheyeh Hareg. They learn that the only time Edim Zomim get the punishment is when the person is actually murdered. Exactly the opposite of what we've learned up until now. Shneimar, where do they prove it from? Because the Pasuk says, Nefesh b'nefesh. These people get punished, Edim Zomim, soul for a soul. How do they understand that? They understand it that the only time you take their soul, you kill them, is when they took the soul of the person the person that they were trying to conspire against. Amru lahem chachamim. The chachamim said to them, "Ve'alo kvar ne'emar." It already says in the pasuk, "V'asitem lo kasher zamam lasot le'achiv." We do to them like what you attempted to do to your brother. Okay. Most times we talk about this. We talk about the limud that we saw already in the Gemara, where the limud was what you attempted and not what you succeeded. So if you succeeded, you don't get the punishment. That's what we've learned before. The Mishnah over here is going to bring it from a little bit of a different angle. It says what you attempted to do, le'achiv, to your brother. Obviously, v'harei achiv kayam, and your brother must be alive. In order for him to be called your brother, he's got to be alive. If he's dead, he's not your brother. That's how most people understand the Mishnah. There's one opinion in the Rishonim who asks on this, how could you say, Rashi, that the reason why we're excluding a dead person, if a person died, from being part of this, how could you say it's based on whether or not you call it achiv? There are cases where the Torah says the word achiv, and it's talking about someone who passed away already.
Cain and Abel, no?
There's numerous examples. Okay, so the Ritva and others, they don't want to agree with Rashi. They don't like it because there are examples of achiv. On that, the commentators answer Ritva's question. They say that's true, but that's when the person is your actual brother. So he's your brother in death. You know why? Because he was your brother in life. But when the term brother is being used in the Torah, which many times it's being used, where the Gemara makes it derasha, achiv b'Torah mitzvot, that you're the brother in Torah mitzvot, which means that you're also part of the people who keep Torah and mitzvot. And what makes him your brother is the fact that you both do mitzvot and mitzvot and Torah. Now that the guy's dead, he don't have no mitzvot or Torah. You can't call him brother anymore. Because the only thing that made him your brother was that you're both doing Torah and mitzvot. Now he's no longer doing them. Okay? So, that's how they answer Ritva's question. But regardless, the Chachamim are bringing from this pasuk, whether you go with what we always say, that it's about what you conspired to do and not what you did, or whether you say it's achiv, which is the literal interpretation, the literal saying in the Mishnah, the Chachamim say, no, it goes by when your brother is alive. Now, let me just point out, there are 3 times that this could have been. And we only really talked about 2. But the Mishnah is hoping you'll understand that we mean 2 out of the 3 and not the 3rd. So let's give an example. The guy comes in to Beit Din. Witnesses say this guy murdered someone on whatever day, Tuesday, okay? Now, the Beit Din receives the testimony. They did not yet knock down the gavel. Maybe you're already Edim Zomin once you finished saying your testimony. Now other witnesses come along and they dispute your testimony. They say you with us on you with us on Thursday in reserve cut for Rabbi Fari's birthday, right? So you're saying clearly that the guy was with you, so I would think Edim Zomin. The first time it could have been was after you said the testimony. The Mishnah is telling us clearly that nobody holds that at that time you could be Edim Zomim. Why? Because it's not after the gavel, according to the Chachamim, and it's not after the death, according to the Tzedukim. Is that clear? Everyone on the same page? Yes? Okay. So far, what do we have from the Mishnah? According to the Tzedukim, only if you already died. According to the Chachamim, after Nigmar Din, after the ruling was handed down. Okay? How did the Chachamim know that it was after the ruling and not after the acceptance of the testimony? How did they know that?
We learned from before.
Who said it's after Nigmar Adin?
Because you would not have conspired against the person.
No, I conspired as soon as I said the testimony.
Yeah, but he would not have been liable for that punishment.
So what?
Kasher Zamam.
Kasher Zamam, I conspired. I'm conspiring from the minute I say my testimony.
Not if the court doesn't accept it, then he would not have been due a punishment, in which case you would not
No, now that the court accepted my testimony, but didn't yet issue the ruling.
Without the ruling, this person's not getting
like
put
court
to
one,
death.
court
No, but that's Kasher Zamam.
But then it's going to be
So again, Kasher Zamam excludes it when it happened. So conspired to, not did. So that tells me not after he dies, but any point before he dies should be the same for Kasher Zamam.
He would not,
What you conspired to do to them.
he's not going to be put to death until the court drops the gavel.
But who said that that's what it's necessary? You see, that's the missing piece. You're missing that piece. Who said that I need to make him that? If you just got finished telling me that if you make him that, you don't get punished. So kasher zama means I tried to do it. I conspired to do it. Conspired to do it could be anything from the minute I say the testimony. We don't yet know why the Chachamim are saying what they're saying. We're going to come back to it. Okay? But we don't yet know that as of yet. All right? Let's come back. So we'll see in just a second. The Gemara says, the Mishnah says, excuse me, the imken, if that's true, lama nemar nefesh benefesh. So 1 second. The Tzedukim say the guy has to die because it says nefesh benefesh. Chachamim say no, but it says achiv, it says kasher zamam. But the Tzedukim are now going to ask the rabbis, but it says soul for a soul. Nefesh benefesh. Yachol misha shekiblu edutan yeragu. Maybe it should be from that first time when they gave their testimony, but not after the gavel comes down, what I just asked you. Now the Gemara says, Talmud lomar, nefesh benefesh, ha'ena ne'argin ad yigamer adin. So the rabbis are basically stuck between two forces. The Tzedukim pay attention to nefesh benefesh, and they say it means after death. The rabbis are paying attention to conspiring witnesses and the word achiv, which indicates that you're alive. But they have to answer that too. So the Chachamim are saying we have another limud. But what do you do with nefesh benefesh?
So he's a dead man walking?
It says, excellent, it says soul for a soul. They didn't kill you, where's the soul for a soul?
That's where I was going before.
The answer is, no, but you have to come with the pasuk. Without the pasuk, there's no room.
One day, hopefully, I'll sit on the other side of the table.
Inshallah. So the Chachamim are paying homage, if you will, to the nefesh benefesh. How? By saying, it's true that we're getting you for conspiring, but not for doing. But still, it also says soul for a soul, which means that there has to have been something that was done. What's the middle point between the guy dying and between conspiring? A place where I conspire and there is a verdict. And once there's a verdict, the guy can be said to be dead, even if he's not executed yet. Why? Because we already said earlier, once Nigmar Hadin, once the person they decree on him that he's going to die in the electric chair, if you go and kill him now, halakha is we don't kill you for that. Why? Because you killed Gavra Ketela. You killed a dead man walking. So if the status of this guy is the status of a dead man walking, where we can't punish you for killing him, we can't punish you for edim zomin, so the guy already has a status of dead. That's what the pasuk means when it says nefesh benefesh. Okay? Now let's read the Gemara. Gemara says as follows. Tana, we learned in the Braita, Biribi Omer, two different opinions as to what this means. Either it means a chashuv person who is called Rebbe, like a rabbi, or it means a person whose name was actually Biribi. Either way, Biribi Omer lo hargu, like we just said in the Mishnah. If they did not kill the victim yet, neheragin. That's when you could kill the edim zomim. But hargu, if they killed the victim already, and neheragin, at that point you can't kill him. Why? Because as we said earlier, kasher zamam velo kasher asa. Like you tried and not like you did. Also, it's not achiv. Okay. So Biribi just mimicked what the Chachamim said in the Mishnah. Amar Aviv, the father of Biribi, said to him, Bili, I don't understand, my son. Lavka v'chomer, isn't it a kal v'chomer? Kal v'chomer means, if that's true over here, how much more so is it true when the guy actually dies? If we're going to kill the Edim Zomimim for conspiring, aren't we going to kill them for killing? It makes more sense that they should be punished for that case. Isn't it a kal v'chomer? Now, let's just be clear. What is this question? The whole limud was that it's not when he dies. So why would the Chachamim come with a kal v'chomer to tell you that he dies? What's the father of Birabi saying?
Because it makes it more sense that way.
Yeah, but we have a pasuk that says explicitly not that way.
He's coming to ask his son the question. You're saying this is, but I'm telling you this doesn't make sense the way.
I'm telling you it's a kal v'chomer, but as a kal v'chomer can't work against an actual pasuk. Right? So what is he saying? The answer is as follows. Listen carefully. There's two ways to read kasher zamam v'lo kasher asa. You're going to kill them for being conspiring witnesses and not for being witnesses that actually murdered someone. Okay? That's how we learn it. But Birabi, his father was asking him, maybe the kal v'chomer tells you not to read the pasuk that way. Let me be clear. Maybe the pasuk is telling you, you kill them for conspiring. It's coming to tell you that even if you didn't kill the guy, still we're going to kill you because we got to nigmar adin. But if you killed him, for sure you do it. How did you know to learn that it's coming to tell you when he didn't get killed explicitly and exclusively? Maybe it means when he didn't kill or when he didn't get killed inclusively. It's coming as a chidush that you get killed even when he didn't die. But for sure, if he died, we're going to kill him. Kal v'chomer. On that he says, Amar lo, he said, Limadetanu Rabenu she'enos onshi min adin. We know that you never learn a death penalty from a limud in the Torah. The only time you learn a death penalty in the Torah is from where? When the pasuk says it explicitly. You can't pull out one of the limudim, one of the 13 ways of learning the Torah, and say, we're going to learn it from there, and that's how you're going to execute the guy. So, en onshin min adin. We don't punish from a kal v'chomer. So therefore, since over here, the pasuk said it by conspired to, and not by did, it also says achiv, his brother's alive. So even though there's a kal v'chomer to tell you, learn it this way, and therefore punish the guy with death, in that instance, why would we be putting this guy to death? Because of a kal v'chomer. You can't punish based on a limud, only on an explicit pasuk. That's what he answered his father. The Tanya, we learned in a Braita, ish asher yikach achoto bat aviv o bat imo. The pasuk says, let's say a person marries his sister, the son of his father, or the son of his mother. En li ela bat aviv shelo bat imo. What do I see from there in the pasuk? It says the son of his mother, the daughter of his mother, or the daughter of his father. But it says or, not and. En li ela, what have I learned in the pasuk? If a person is married to or has relations with his sister, who's the son of his mother, but not of his father, or the son of his father, but not of his mother, because it says or, ubat imo shelo bat aviv, bat imo ubat aviv minayin. What if this girl is his sister, not half through either parent, but full through both parents? Minayin, how do I know? Talmud Lomar, the pasuk says, ervat achoto gila. It then comes back and reiterates the nakedness of achoto gila. He revealed the nakedness of his sister. Ad shelo yomar. Why did you need the pasuk to tell you that? Yesh li bedin. If you're going to kill me for relations with my sister, who's a sister from my father, or a sister who's a sister from my mother, that means that relation is forbidden to the point of getting the punishment of execution for adultery. Correct?
All three relations.
There's only
all two relations. I mean, full sister or half sister.
Either half sister this way or half sister this way. Obviously, if she's a half sister and a half sister, I'm going to get the death penalty. Why did you need a pasuk to come and include a full sister? If you told me half or half, I'm going to get the death penalty. Imanash al batavi shelo batimo, ubatimo shelo batavi. If I was punished for either one or the other, batavi batimo lo koshken, isn't it obvious? Why did the pasuk need to come and give me another pasuk, Ervat Achoto Gila, to include this case? Halamarita, you learn from here, She'en Onshim Min Adin. From the fact that the pasuk needed to state it explicitly, what do I learn? That even though logically it's an open and shut case, you cannot punish from a limud, from a kal vachomer. It needs to be explicitly stated in the pasuk. Let's continue now, and we'll try and understand this idea in Isur. Onesh shamanu, azhara minayin. Onesh, I understand the punishment, but azhara, the punishment, the warning, where do we see it? Talmud lomar, the pasuk says, the nakedness of your sister, of either your father or the daughter of your father or daughter of your mother, and the elabat aviv shelo bat imo, bat imo shelo bat aviv. I could understand either way, one half or the other half. Bat aviv or bat imo minayin. How do I know when she is both? Talmud lomar, the pasuk says, evat bat ishtevicha, moled avicha achotecha hi. The nakedness of eshet avicha, the wife of your father, moledet avicha, achotechahi, who is born of your father, she's your sister, you're not allowed to lie with her. Ad shelo yomar, once you've told me this in the pasuk, that the wife of your father, who's also your father's daughter. So this guy committed a sin of adultery and incest with his daughter. You're now not allowed to marry your father's wife, who is also your father's daughter, even if it's not your brother. Ad shelo yomar, once, even without a pasuk, yeshli min adin. If you would tell me that it's someone who's half sister and not from their father, bat aviv ubatimo lo koshken, is it not obvious? Halamarita, we learn from here, she'en mazhirin min hadin. We also won't give you the azhara, never mind the punishment, but we won't even give you the azhara, the punishment for that kind of the prohibition for that kind of a punishment, min adin, from a kal vachomer. And therefore the pasuk needed to expressly state, ervat bat eshet avicha, the nakedness of the daughter of your father's wife, or moledet avicha. Okay, let me just correct what I said over there. The nakedness of the son, of the daughter, bat Eshtavicha, of the wife of your father, and the nakedness of the daughter of your father. Both of those are achotecha, your sister. Why did I need to tell it to you? Because you can't teach me the law as well. So one more time. You can't learn the punishment from a kal vachomer, and you can't learn the isur from the kal vachomer. You need to learn both of them from the pasuk explicitly.
What's isur versus punishment?
Punishment means the what we do to you when you do the sin. The isur is the sin itself. How do I know that I'm not allowed to do it? I have a kal vachomer. You can't learn the sin itself from the kal vachomer. In mazhirin min adin. You don't give the azhara also from a kal vachomer. Okay? Says the Gemara. Right? Where are we? Chayveh Malkuyot. Okay, now the Gemara says, so I understand that you can't institute death penalties or the prohibition associated with a death penalty by a kal vachomer. But that's maybe because it's such a harsh punishment. And you only have the rope that the Torah gave you to carry out a death penalty for someone. Chayveh Malkuyot minayin. What about when it comes to Malkut? It's quote unquote only lashes. Would we say the same halacha? Would you be allowed to punish based on a kal vachomer? Chayveh malkuyot minayin. How do you know that that's also true with malkut? Talmud lomar, the pasuk says, rasha, rasha. Twice, we saw this already before. It says rasha with regard to a execution, and it says rasha with regard to someone who gets malkut, like we saw, ve'haya im binakot rasha. So since whatever's true with regards to the death penalty is also true with regards to the lashes penalty. So therefore you cannot learn the punishment of lashes nor the isur of the punishment of lashes from a kal vachomer. Now the Gemara says, okay, what about chayaveh galuyot? What about, could I learn the laws of an accidental murderer from a kal vachomer? or only from an explicit pasuk? The Gemara says the same idea. Atya, we make a gzera shava. We find the same word in two verses to tell us that these two cases are the same. Atya rotzeach rotzeach. We learn the word rotzeach rotzeach. It says twice rotzeach. Rotzeach by intentional murder, which gets a death penalty. Rotzeach by unintentional murder, which gets the penalty of exile. And since there's a gzera shava, we connect one to the other, and therefore you cannot learn neither the punishment of exile nor the prohibition related to this punishment of exile from a kal vachomer. Gemara continues with the Braita. Tanya, Am Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai said, "Ere benechama im lo haragti et zomem." This is a very interesting expression. It's kind of an expression that someone is saying, like, if I did this, then I should experience that. Okay, I should see nechama, the coming of the Mashiach, yani. Okay, I should see the coming of Mashiach im lo haragti et zomem. If I did not kill a ed zomem, about a scenario where they had edut for what's it called? A case of murder. In order to establish that the halacha was not like the tzedukim. Shayu omrim, they used to say, they held that the only time that that's applicable is when the victim actually is dies by the hand of the court, and then the edim are zomemd. So what did I do? I did it even before to show, and I was able to show that they were incorrect. So I was able to create like case law. Amar lo Shimon ben Shetach. Shimon ben Shetach said, "Ere benechama im lo shafachta dam naki." What may I see? The same Mashiach that you just said, right? If I did not see, right, that you spilled clean, blood that was innocent. Let's look 1 second over here. Look at Rashi. You see about midway down. They're saying, really, I should not see Mashiach. Like it's a line that they're using. Like I should not merit to see the coming of the Mashiach if not for this. Okay, but we use the positive language because tzaddikim were always very careful about ever saying something that was a curse about themselves. And the Gemara turned it around that it should be a beracha. Okay, so what does it mean to say? Another opinion says it's not talking about the Mashiach, but he's saying I should see consolation. In other words, bar minan, that his sons should die. And then people should have to come to console him. So he's indicating something with a tremendous amount of certainty. And yet Shimon ben Shetach comes back and says, what do you mean? Your case is a case of innocent blood. The Chachamim explained, right? You just said to me, ed zomem, a single witness. But I picked up the word that you didn't say edim zomemim. Plural. And if you did it to one witness, not only did you not do the correct halakha with regards to the tzedukim, you also didn't do the correct halakha according to halakha. The Chachamim already explained, and we've seen this before. Zomimim, enadim zomim neragin, ad she'yazu mishenehem. Ve'en lokin, also you don't get malkut, ad she'yazu mishenehem, until you're able to prove it on both of them. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai, that said that he had executed this one witness to illustrate that was the law and to show, and he was happy that he had been able to fulfill an expression that was against the tzedukim. Shimon ben Shetach said you killed someone that you were not supposed to kill because you only did zomimim on one of them. The Gemara says
you just a kill short.
No, in other words, the edim zomim came. And they said about one of them that he was Ed Zomem.
Okay.
What do you mean? You were with us on that night. The other guy is now not Zomemd. You could only carry out Edim Zomim when there's Zomem both Edim. So Yehuda ben Tabai is like, look, I showed the Tzedukim what the halakha is. Because I killed this Ed Zomem after Nigmar Adin, but before the actual murder happened. Before the actual testimony was carried out and the execution was administered. Says Shimon ben Shetach, Erem benechama, the opposite. You killed an innocent man. Miyad kibel lav Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai accepted on himself immediately. She'eno moreh hora'ah el lifnei Shimon ben Shetach. He would only rule on any case if he had Shimon ben Shetach there to look over his shoulder, so he wouldn't make any mistake. And all the rest of Yehuda ben Tabai's days, as long as he was alive on this earth, he would go to the burial place of that one witness, and his voice would be heard. He would be crying, Now, Kasurin ha'am, they would hear this voice. Kasurin ha'am lomar kolo shel harug. The chachamim, the people who would hear the voice coming from the cemetery, from where this person, this Ed Zomem, was buried, they thought it was kolo shel harug, of the person that Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai had killed. They thought they were hearing the voice of a dead man who was killed incorrectly. Amar, Yehuda ben Tabai said, Koli shelihu. It was my voice that was crying. Tedeu, you should know, lemacharhu met en kolo nishma. Soon, right, when I pass away, you're going to see that as soon as I die, you're not going to hear that voice anymore. And now that you'll know that voice is my voice and not the voice of this dead person that passed away. Rav Acha, the son of Rav Acha said, the son of Rava. Rav Acha, the son of Rava, said to Rav Ashi, okay, Dilma Bedina kam ba'adeh. How did this fact that when he stops, when he dies, the voice is going to stop, how does that prove anything? Maybe the reason why the voice stops is because finally justice has been served. Okay? Inami piyuse mifayis. So the Gemara says, I don't know, either, in each case, either maybe the case was heard in Shamayim and they ruled against the person that passed away, or the fact that Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai died, either because he died as a punishment for having done that, so now he kind of felt like justice was served, or because Rabbi Yehuda himself was able in Shamayim to kind of appease him for what had happened. But in either way, it doesn't prove from the fact that the voice would stop when Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai would die, it doesn't prove that voice was not his voice. Okay? In either scenario, we're left with a tragic story, a story of Rabbi Yehuda ben Tabai mistakenly administering the halakha in a case where it was not supposed to be administered. And we also have the tragic outcome of this rabbi repenting for the rest of his days, always going and crying on the burial place of this person who he felt that he had killed inappropriately. He mourned his death as if he was one of his family members, or probably to an even larger degree. The Mishnah continues. Okay. We started with this right in the beginning. How many witnesses can institute or lay down the law of witnesses? Minimum 2. But it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 5, it could be 100. If they come together, they're one group. So, by the word of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses, a person can be put to death if they're testifying that the person did something that deserves the death penalty. Okay, if you only need 2, lama why did it say according to 2 or according to 3? It's coming to compare 3 to 2. Just like when 3 people would come and they would say that the 2 people that had borne witness before, they were with us. So just like 3 could do hazama to 2, so too could 2 witnesses that come in and say, you 3 were with us, they could zomem even 3 witnesses, even though there's more of them. How do we know? Afilu mea, even if 2 people say that 100 witnesses are edim zomin and they're with us somewhere else, that we accept the hazama. Talmud lomar, the pasuk says edim. It doesn't say how many. It just says witnesses. And since edim applies to 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, therefore 2 witnesses can be mezim even 100. By the way, is this the machloket of the Mishnah that we just saw? We just had a Mishnah that says, the Chachamim say even 100. Rav Yehuda says, these guys are plotters. Is this Mishnah not like Rabbi Yehuda? Anyone? No. What's the difference? In our Mishnah, it was two set of witnesses come. They say this guy killed on that day. Edim Zomim come, they say that they were with us. Now another two come, and they say you were also with us. And another two come, and you were also with us. So one way of understanding the Mishnah is that Rabbi Yehuda would suspect them, even just because the fact that it's an unlikely number for them to have been together with them this whole time. The other opinion says no, Rabbi Yehuda is only casting this doubt of the fact that they're plotters. He's only saying it because it happened again and again and again and again and again in independent stories. But if it happened in one story, Rabbi Yehuda would have no problem. He would agree, 100% they could be mezim. So we have two ways of learning this Mishnah. One way we learn this Mishnah is that we see it as differently. One way we learn this Mishnah as being separately. Okay, is that clear? So again, I saw blank looks on your faces. One way of learning this Mishnah is that Rabbi Yehuda would argue here too. Another way of learning this Mishnah is Rabbi Yehuda doesn't argue when two make 100 edim zomimim. It's only when it's time after time after time after time after time and they're coming as separate groups where they're not one body. Look, if 100 people came and say that they were witnesses together, they're one body of people that hang out together. Is it so unlikely to say that I was hanging out with all these people in one place? It's not so unlikely. Maybe they all came to shul. Maybe they all went to a wedding together. Okay? Rabbi, so two ways of learning this Mishnah. Either that it's the same machloket of Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim, or that it's different because it happened in one shot. Yes?
Why would 100 people or any number of people over two bear false witness if there is no benefit and there's the risk of punishment?
It's clear that they don't know that that's what's going to happen. Okay. They're thinking, okay, you know what? If another two come, maybe we'll convince them that the person actually was a murderer. Okay? Or if the case is that they're lying, right? Depending on if they're lying or not, but that they're going to get what they want to get done, legally done. Okay? Let's continue. So it says the Mishnah, Talmud lomar edim. So the halakha would be that even two could take out 100. Says the Gemara. Rabbi Shimon says, Mashnaim en narigin achiyu shneim zomin. Just like when you do edim zomin, you can only do edim zomin if you have two, not if you have one, like we said earlier. Okay? Af shlosha en neheragin achiyu shloshtan zomemin. Uminayin afilu mea Talmud lomar edim. Rabbi Shimon basically takes the same pattern and teaches us something else, which is very interesting. He said, you just got finished telling me that two could make 2 zomem, and two could make 3 zomem, and two could make 100 zomem. Why? Based on the fact that it only says edim. It doesn't pay attention to the number. Says Rabbi Shimon, let me learn something else from the same exact limud. What happens if two people come in and they say edim zomin, only one of them? What's the halakha? Doesn't work. How many do you have to zomem if you got two? 2. Says Rabbi Shimon, what if 3 people come? Now you have to zomem all 3. Why? Because just like it said before, edim, that you're making the edim zomemim, however many they are. So if you say that when there's 2, you need 2, then when there's 3, you need 3. And when there's 100, how many you need? 100. So they're basically throwing it at the wall, seeing what sticks. You now need to prove that all 100 are edim zomemim. There's safety in numbers then. And otherwise you can't edim zomemin 50 out of the 100 because you could prove that they were with you.
Once one is proved out of the 100, the whole group is out, right?
What do you mean?
Once one witness of the 100 comes and the witness is falsified, the whole group of 100?
We've not discussed that yet. Okay? Right now we're talking about in edim zomemin. And that is not the case with regards to Edim Zomin. So if you got one, what happens? Right? The rest of them are not Edim Zomin. We've not talked about whether you accept the witnesses or not. We've just said that they're not Edim Zomin.
Gotcha.
Okay? Even though you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10, but you don't have all of them. So Rabbi Shimon is learning that it's all of them, and it's all one basket. Rabbi Akiva says, Lo ba'ashilishi la'akel ela la'achmir alav. When we say that you could punish someone or establish witnesses based on 2 people or based on 3 people, the 3 is only coming to make it more strict, not less so. V'la'asot dino ki yotze ba'elu. And to say that this 3rd witness also has the same law as these ones. So therefore, even though the 3rd person, when he walks into Beit Din, do you need his testimony now? No. So one might think, okay, 1 second. If you zomem all 3, the 3rd guy to give the testimony should not be liable. Why? Because his testimony was unnecessary. So how do we say already a bunch of times? We said already many times. The only time you can give me Edim Zomin is if I would have caused the person to get punished, to pay the fine, to get killed, right? The 3rd witness, when he comes along, there's already 2 witnesses. Do I need his testimony? No. So I might think that even if you zomem the 3rd guy, he doesn't get Edim Zomimim. Why? Because his testimony did nothing.
But the Torah says the more the better.
It doesn't say the more the better.
It does.
It doesn't say the more the better.
It just says it's unlimited.
It says in the commentary, it says you have to have 2, but the more they welcome the more, and it's not going to change. But
It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't make the testimony more reliable or less reliable. Let's say you have 100 witnesses saying A, and then you have 2 witnesses come and they say, no, actually B. What happens?
1 to 1.
They're both canceled. Out, 0. It's as if you have nothing. So 100 witnesses carries identical weight to 2 witnesses. 3 witnesses gain us nothing over 2 witnesses. Right? But we'll take them all in. So when they come as a group of 3, right, we see this as one group. You understand?
1 group with a quorum, you need 2 minimum. So it's just it's
So
a
Rabbi
qualifying group to say.
So Rabbi Shimon seemed to tell us if you zomem the 2, nobody gets anything because it's a group of 3. Rabbi Akiva says, no, this was only to be strict that we gave it to you, not to be lenient. So how does he explain where it's strict? You might have thought that when you zomem 3, the 3rd guy should get off because you know what? He added nothing with his testimony. You had enough in the testimony of the first 2 to be able to throw the book at him, theoretically, if it would have went through. So therefore, this 3rd guy really added nothing. So maybe he should get off scot-free. On that it says, no. And if that's true, ana shakatuv linitpa le'ovrei avera ke'ovrei avera. Okay? When you have, what does that mean? It comes out that the Torah is punishing someone who's an accomplice to something bad as much as the people who did the bad thing themselves. Alachat kama b'kama, how much more so, 1,000,000 times more, yishalem sachar linitpa le'oseh mitzvah ke'oseh mitzvah. How much more so will Hashem give the reward to people who are accomplices to a good thing, even if they're not the ones that did it themselves. Why? Because we have a principle that says, Midat Tova, Hashem's good attributes outweigh the negative attributes at a weight of 500 to 1. So if that's the case on an accessory for something evil, even when they didn't do the evil act themselves, how much more so an accessory to a mitzvah, even if I didn't do the mitzvah, is going to be rewarded by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? Let's just finish this Mishnah, okay? Because, this is a separate item, so we'll continue from here because we're already over time. We'll continue from here next week. Baruch Hanei Le'olam.